This time on Graveyard Cars, Mark's favorite Mopar model is cruising through assembly, the hugely popular Dodge Charger. So far, Graveyard Cars has brought back a total of 6 second-generation Chargers, including 2 Daytonas and 1 exceptionally rare Hemi. But will this 69 Charger tribute be lucky number 7? Or will the curse of the CUDA derail this black beauty?
CUDA that I want to have a really cool scene with, and the GoPro ended up falling off on the ground and getting ran over, and then these 2 people ran over it and they picked it up and gave it back to me.
And will things go horribly wrong when this high-value Hemi hits the road?
I was trying to do a death-proof moment. I was trying to have some fun.
Stay tuned and find out.
They're going to hit that camera. They're going to hit that camera. What's he?
On this episode of Graveyard Cars.
Always wear a hat.
Beneath the fog, behind the rust, sometimes they come back. There's only one internationally recognized Mopar master, Mark Warman, joined by his friends, family, and dream team, the Ghouls.
Nobody wants to take on the stuff that we take on.
Reviving the past.
100% untouched survivor.
Resurrecting the icons of American muscle.
We are the Shaolin priests of Mopar.
Uncovering stories.
It's the baddest car we have here.
And restoring dreams.
The most iconic muscle car on the planet.
Putting cars back where they belong. On the road.
Here we go.
Beyond a passion.
Oh, that's wild.
One man's obsession. With Mopar perfection. This is Graveyard Cars.
One of the cars that I'm really getting excited about seeing very shortly is a 1969 Dodge Charger. Now, this is a Graveyard Dreams car, so what we built it into isn't what it started life as. So just keep in mind, sitting at home and searching for a car, that we can build anything now, right? We have the knowledge, the technology. Isn't that what they said in the $6 Million Man? We got the technology, we got the skill. We do. We can put together, in this particular case, something that appears to be an all-original 1969 Hemi Charger. Now, of course, in order to build a Graveyard Dreams car, you gotta have a car to build into a Graveyard Dreams car. Now, in the case of the 71 CUDA, of course, we built most of that. We did start with a shell, but ended up using nothing but the roof on it, and built the rest of it out of the AMD catalog. In this case, the car actually found me, so I had a gentleman give me a call and want a price on building a 71 Barracuda into a CUDA tribute car. So talked to him for quite a while, and it ended up in our conversation, he said one of the things he was gonna have to do to fund the restoration was to sell a 69 Charger project car that he'd been working on. So lo and behold, I made him a deal and took that in on trade towards the 71 Barracuda. And because of that, I ended up with a pretty good rolling car. Not much in the way of parts to go with it, but it was a pretty decent car. It was all one color, and it had a recent cheap paint job, but those always tell me there's a lot to be expected once we get into them. It has some nice Magnum 500s on it, but boy, it was stripped out other than that. There was really no dash assembly to speak of other than the VIN was there and the shell for that and the steering column. So we really had basically a body, which is all we need to get started. Now, because the car was pretty much stripped down and not much in the way of parts, it didn't take us long to get it disassembled and set up and ready to go to the dipper. So now things move along pretty good right up to the point of dipping. That's one of our bottlenecks. And it's nobody's fault, okay? We had the COVID thing, which basically lost 2 to 3 years of good productive work here in the whole country. I'm not the only one. But way behind in dipping. So it has to sit there in the queue for quite a while the other ones that should have been rolling through finally make it up to the top. Once the number came up for it and it was time to get it dipped, I had Doug take it off of the rack, get it down on the ground. Now, this car had all original Dodge Charger sheet metal, and while I love my AMD, we use it all the time. We couldn't put these cars together without it. It's about 1 in every 100 has original sheet metal, and I really was excited to see what that would look like when it came back. Nothing like good original sheet metal when it comes to fitting these cars. So now when it came back, it was a really nice surprise. Underneath all that cheap paint and what appeared to be a lot of filler, it was pretty solid. We did have to replace the main floor in it, the trunk floor. We had a dozen small patches. Basic sheet metal like quarter panels, roof, door shells and fenders and hoods. Pretty darn nice. So it didn't take us long to get it through the metal shop where everything was back and squared where it's supposed to be and over to the mudroom.
So the Charger went through the mudroom relatively quickly. It came to us, we did our blocking on it. With this car going black, you really have to make sure you spend the extra time to make sure there's no flaws in it, because black will show everything. So right when we get to that point to start disassembling this car and getting it ready for paint, Mark, in his brilliant wisdom, comes out and says, hey, by the way, we needed subframe connectors on this. So at that point, we have to shut down again, kick it over to Josh so he can install those. This should have been taken care of when the car was being built, not when it's time to paint.
You know, I did forget about adding the subframe connectors, okay? It's not a stock piece that these cars got. I forgot about it, but this is a great example of how, you know, we'll sit back and say, oh, he's a victim and I'm always picking on him. I happen to have a lot of things on my plate, okay? I'm a busy boy. He sits down there doing selfies all day long, and occasionally, when all of his little elves have a car ready to paint, he walks in, shoots it for an hour and a half and walks out, takes pictures of it, posts it on all of his social media and says, #1 painter did it again, #1 painter did it again. I have a lot to do, and that's why they got forgotten.
So once Josh wrapped up with the subframe connectors, at this point, the car comes back over to us. We can start disassembling it and getting it ready for all of its jam work and final paint. Because it's a black car, I decided to panel paint it, which I do on most solid colors, meaning I'm just painting the car apart. So I jam it. Once it's jammed, I can flip the parts over, paint the doors, paint the fenders, paint just the body of the car. Makes the process a lot quicker. It's just when it comes time for a body man to assemble the car, he's putting a car that's been cut and buffed and ready to go. He's got to put the whole car together very carefully. I do 4 coats of our black single stage, the 9300. That way there's a good coat that can be taken off in the cut and buff, and then that still leaves 3 coats left over. Car looks amazing. Because it's a solid color, I don't have to worry about metallics matching. I'll get all the jam work done, then I'll paint the doors by themselves, the fenders, hood, deck lid, car, all by itself. And then at that point, I'll kick it back over to Josh once it's all been buffed, and he has the tough job of putting the doors and everything on the car without making chips or dents or dings or scratches.
We've got a date-coded 69 426 Hemi with all the bolt-on pieces, not a date-coded but correct Hemi automatic transmission, and a correct date-coded 410 Dana rear axle assembly. So this car, when you open the hood, walk around it, look inside it as a done car, you should not be able to tell, other than looking at the vehicle identification number, that it was originally a 2-barrel 383 car and not a real-life 426 Hemi. That's what you have to have if you're building a dreams car. That's what we achieved and moved it over to Brian so he could do the final assemblies.
Well, this is the first Charger dash assembly that I've actually built here. I'm still a greenhorn at this, as Mark likes to call me. Likes to call me a lot of things, a greenhorn one of them. So I actually learned a whole lot in the process of building these things for the first time. Once this Charger dash is all built out, it is a really cool piece.
So one of the things that's beginning to happen, and you'll notice a little bit of the structure's changed in Graveyard Carz from, you know, spending almost an episode showing you how a heater box maybe went together. We have so many cars, we just have to move them through the shop now. We're behind, everybody knows it, people that have cars here knows that we're always struggling to get out from being behind the 8 ball on it. But Brian did a remarkable job up to where we are now.
This car is a Hemi tribute car, so technically it should not have air conditioning, meaning you couldn't get AC with a Hemi ever. However, since it was a dream car build, we were able to get a retrofit compressor from Classic Auto Air. We were able to marry it to all of the factory AC components in and under the dash. So all Chargers actually had 150 mile/hour speedometer, or speedo, but not all Chargers had a tick-tock-tack, so we added that. We also added an 8-track AM stereo with 3-speaker dash. All of the trim panels and knobs were replaced with new ones from Classic Industries. The AC registers and ducting is actually all factory Mopar, so I had to carefully restore those pieces. I say carefully because most of these pieces are rigid plastic, and now they're over 50 years old. So, like people and my boss, they get a little more fragile with age. However, if you take your time and are really careful, they can come out great. Once the dash was built out, I installed all of the wiring harnesses. The main harness we bought new from Classic Industries. But there's actually a lot of auxiliary harnesses that go into these dashes, and like the AC harness and the radio harness, which you can't get new. So we reached out to Tony's Parts to get those for us. I think this dash came out really nice, and I am so glad to have a Charger dash under my belt now.
You've got all the other functions working.
Yes.
So you did run through a complete systems check on everything else on it.
Absolutely.
The owner wanted a fully functional R22, which is the sales code for an AM 8-track stereo. We had the 8-track rebuilt and restored. What we want to know is if it works.
It's $1 million question.
So Brian came up to me with some Boz Scaggs crap tape and says, hey, I want to try out that 8. Don't you put a Boz Scaggs in
Lido
there.
Shuffle. Come on now. What you got? The Stones, baby.
Got a little bit of Rolling Stones. When I was growing up, my uncle, Uncle Wayne, loved the Rolling Stones. Loved them. Just thought they were the greatest thing in the world. So he kind of turned me on to the music. I fell in love with it too, right? How do you not, right? It's the Stones. So every 2 weeks when I would get paid, I'd go to Everybody's Records, downtown Eugene, and I would start buying the tapes that they had. Now, at a certain point, you're out of them and you got to wait for the new ones to come out. But over a course of a couple of years, I had what my memory says, all of the tapes up to that time, which I was going to say probably 1978, so that's probably some girl's album. But I had them all on 8-track in a little case. You're talking the Rolling Stones, man. Ain't nobody want to hear no Boz Scaggs. This is a 3-speaker dash, which has 2 more in the back originally. So that's what you got with the R22 AM 8-track. All right.
All right, let's see what we
Put
got.
that mother biscuit in there. You can't dance and get it on, get your groove on down at the mill camp, the Boz Scaggs. Like somebody gonna put a quarter in the jukebox and come up and dance to JoJo? Low Down, Lend Me a Dime. Ain't nobody gonna dance to that. You gotta have the Stones, man. You gotta be kicking it with the Stones. You gotta be some girls, right? Beasts of Burden. You've seen some of the moves. I've patented moves that were based on Jagger's original moves when he did the videos back in the early days of MTV. When you guys don't realize that was all MTV was music videos. It's not that crap they got on now. It was real music, real rock and roll in our times. We were the ancestors of rock and roll. We are the godfathers of rock and roll, okay? Ain't nobody want to dance to Boz Scaggs.
Oh, yeah.
Satisfaction. Talking satisfaction, man. That was the #1 killing song. That was the Mugambo song. How low can you go? I mean, even old Dawn of the Dead was over there shaking what little bit of rhythm he had. That's Stones, man. It causes you to come to life. It's happy. Well, it sounds like it works. Let's check the tracks.
A little bluesy there.
One we're gonna say never made the radio.
Yeah. The last time. Last time, yeah.
This may be the last time.
Yeah.
All I can say is that's the last time I'm gonna trust old Cue Ball Morton to pick out an 8-track tape to test out. Imagine it's Saturday night and you just got through cruising the gut for 2 hours. Just put your last $5 in the gas tank so you could go up there with mama and cruise around. Want to go up to Inspiration Point afterwards maybe. Do a little making out, you know, a little make session. That's what we used to call it. Mood set, park lamps are on, dash lights are on, you got the dimmer turned down, and you pop in Boz Scaggs. Well, we got it.
It's working.
We're good. Me,
like
Mick,
it. Keith Richards, yeah, Bill Wyman, Charlie
Chuck
Watts.
that just passed away.
God rest his soul.
Chuck. Originally, we were going to play this, which is an original 8-track tape that you got called The Sound of Stereo. And so when you bought one of these cars, one of these tapes would be in the glove box. And I'm not sure if they just gave it to you or if you paid extra for it. They had all kinds of songs on it. We got some really nice B-roll of this thing before he destroyed it.
Well, what are you gonna do?
This is a new old stock. New old stock.
That's me after 3 minutes.
God, this thing's made it 90 years and you had it for 30 seconds and destroyed it?
I would like to point out that the tape broke in my hands just taking it out of the package. Remember when I said old plastic is brittle?
I'm pretty sure
I got some Stones out of it.
the Rolling Stones are much better than Boz Scaggs. Ain't nobody gonna be getting it on to that. You can't get it on, you know, to Boz Scaggs. So let's start by getting the dash in the car. and then make your connections. I'll help you roll it up into place, and there's a few you'll have to make after that. Once you start making those, I'll walk away and you can come get me after you put fuel in the car and get it ready to run.
Sounds like a plan.
Brian ended up assembling pretty much all of the car except for a few things. Still had the dash and the steering column and the front end to put on, the grille and the header and all of that. And there's a reason behind why it got staggered like that. One is, when it comes down to the dash of the steering column, it's really a two-guy job. So we're gonna set it down on our anchor points and then make a ton of connections. On mine?
Okay.
I thought it was on mine, I lied to you. No, I am on it now. I'm on it. No, I'm not on it.
I'm on mine.
There, I'm on mine
Okay.
now. Okay?
We are on.
Great.
Normally, there's just a few connections that need to be made when you set a dash into the car. However, when you have a factory air conditioning car like this one, there's a lot of extra connections and things that need to be routed into place, and it can be a little bit tedious.
Okay, everything is made now.
All the connections are here? Yeah.
Okay, so let me loosen up this side because I don't want it to pivot and walk up out of there.
Right.
But I do want to get some height on it.
I'll get some hands on it here.
Okay, I hold it. I want to raise that up a little bit. Okay, there we go.
That looks like it's laying down nice in the middle there.
Let me get this up here. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Getting right close.
God, that's beauty.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
She's a car again, huh? So we've covered the dash installation on many of the Mopars, so we didn't really belabor that. Just a reminder that with a Mopar dash, like in this Charger, for example, the dash is pretty much completely built out. Instrumentation, radio, vents, everything is ready to go. You bring it into the car, there are 2 anchor bolts that you set in the side pillars. Set the dash down on it. Once it's in place and you can roll it down, then you go in and make all of your connections. So that's what Brian had to do, is make all the connections to the speedometer, the defroster, the heater, the radio, to the power, and all of those things. Once that's done, we can roll it up into place, put all of the dash screws across the front. I think there are 5 or 6. Put all of the attaching screws up high, tighten down the 2 anchor bolts, and now you have a dash assembly. And the next thing would be steering column.
You're gonna let me test drive this one on the way home, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see a Chevy boy drive a real car sometime. That'd be great.
You want to grab her?
Help you get her in there for you? Or you got it?
Let's see. Might be able to just handle her.
Oh yeah.
All right, you ready to do this, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get this column in this car. So I'll slide her through the firewall, and then I can feed it to you. Okay. You got her?
Yep.
The steering column is actually pretty straightforward on these cars, especially when there's no driver's seat in place. Since we've already completely restored it, all we have to do is feed it through the firewall and line up the splines on the couplers. There's a keyway on the steering input shaft that has to be lined up with the keyway in the coupler on the end of the steering column. Yeah, I found it's best to have 2 people on this because it's a really tight fit and you don't want to force anything. Yeah, Josh is an awesome technician and I love working with him. And I love you, Mark, but you know, if I gotta make my choice, I'm gonna grab Josh out of the back to help me put a car together.
Yep.
That do her?
That was it.
Okay.
So with the steering column in place, all of the electrical connections made, the only thing left on the interior is the driver's seat. We'll wait to put that in just a little bit here because I want to move forward and get it running. I want to hear how that engine sounds before we put the grill assembly in it. Let's try it.
Let's do it.
Ready?
Yep.
Get in the car, Chrome Dome. Please don't. Always wear a hat. That shot of you in the Barracuda coming up, it's like Dawn of the Dead, man. Yeah, wear a hat.
It's fun to have my bald head made fun of, or what is it, Cue Ball Morton, Hills Have Eyes, Dawn of the Dead, Chrome Dome 2 sometimes. Hey, these are all fun things to hear when you're trying to put a car together.
All right, so go ahead. Let's make sure it cranks over under its own power. So go ahead and just crank it over without touching it. Okay, it seemed to crank over. All right, let me pump the gas a little bit. You know, you're gonna have to run the gas from in there because that thing's stiff.
Okay.
All right, give me a pump to the floor and back. All right, and back, and then go ahead and crank it over.
Okay.
Okay, I think it needs more timing. When you hear an engine crank so easily and it doesn't quite want to fire, most likely the timing is in a retarded position, because if it was too far advanced, it would kick back at you.
Okay.
And so the fact that this one is just spinning really easy, I'm just gonna pull it towards the advanced. I'm gonna move it quite a bit just for fun. Maybe too far, but that's okay. Go ahead and pump it a couple of times. It does sound like it wants to start, so go ahead and crank it.
All right.
Hang on, give it some more fuel, pump it a few times. These are big old animals. They like lots of gas.
There we go.
Try that.
There we go.
Hold your foot halfway down now.
Okay.
Get some air in there. Okay, and try that.
Now here is where all of the insults are worth it. Mark knows these cars like nobody's business. I love that he can tell just by listening to the engine and the sounds that it makes what needs to be adjusted for it to be corrected. Hey, that knowledge is worth a few shots to my follically challenged head.
Now, one of the things you'll notice when you hear this engine idling is the camshaft. The guy who commissioned me to build this car remembered the big engines and the big camshafts from school, always wanted one. So he said, I don't even care if it performs quite like it should. I don't care so much about that. I want that bump. I want that loud, obnoxious, slobbering camshaft.
Got about 50 pounds of oil pressure.
Let's set that idle speed up a little bit here.
Okay.
So we installed a Comp 270H. H stands for the Hemi camshaft. The intake lift is 502. The exhaust lift is 486. It also happens to have a dual duration pattern on it. So when you fire this one up, it really does idle like a coffee can full of rocks. Something I will say, it seems like more these days we're starting to do some of that old school camshaft stuff. You remember the folks with the green 70 Cuda with the 446 barrel? We put, Comp calls it a mother thumping cam, like Sam Jackson, right? A mother thumping cam and a mother thumping Cuda. Okay, so right now we have the idle speed set up so that we can break the cam in. Take a look at your gauges, make sure oil pressure is good.
Almost 60 PSI.
Great. So what I like to do is just let these run now.
Okay.
You're gonna need to belch the radiator, which we'll do here in a minute. We'll get it up to temperature and just make sure that it's full.
Got it.
Once it takes that first big swallow, it's about a gallon low.
Okay.
And then you're gonna wanna watch that temperature gauge. But as far as an initial fire up, you couldn't ask for a better one, but that's why we do run them on the engine run stand.
Absolutely.
We're just gonna go ahead and let it run and warm up. Check all the fluid levels in it, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. At that point, I think we can go ahead, put the front end on it.
Let's do it.
Get the front end done on it, then we're ready to send the car down to have the glass done, have the alignment done, do the final road test on it, and we'll send it down
Out the door.
Good job, buddy.
All right,
Good job.
buddy. Nice job.
Nice.
The Graveyard's 7th Charger is accelerating through assembly. The owner throws Mark a curveball when he orders poorly performing parts.
I said, I can make them right. And he said, no, thank you.
But when the parts don't perform like they could,
This headlight moves slower than that headlight.
will the newest ghoul throw Will under the bus?
This is Will.
How the hell do I get brought into a tutorial about headlight doors?
When Graveyard Cars returns.
So now that we have the car running, Brian has this built out for the last couple of weeks, I think. It's been ready to go on,
yeah.
But we needed to get through all of our stuff. So all the fluid levels are topped off on the car. Everything's running. We're ready to put this assembly in. You guys have seen us do this before, but I'm going to point out one thing that's a little on the nerdery side of things that I think our fans at home might appreciate. 69 Charger, most classic front end ever. Not my favorite, but Dukes of Hazzard, right? Made it very, very popular. One of the neatest features, even if you don't like Mopar and you don't like Chargers, is the concealed headlights, the hideaway headlight system. Dodge came out with it in 66 on the Charger, 67, standard again. 68 through 70 it was standard, even though 68 and 69 were vacuum and 70 was electric. They functioned the same. Now the other Brand X garbage boxes out there, they followed suit and they all had some hideaway headlights, but they weren't cool like that. In this particular case, it was cool, it was classy, it was stylish, right? Those doors pop up and it's like Marilyn Monroe's skirt when she walked over that fan. Everybody's looking. You know what I'm saying? This is a very original setup that's been completely restored. Excellent job, by the way.
Thank you, buddy.
But everything in the mechanisms, they're original. That means they are vacuum-operated headlights. That's what a 68 and a 69 Dodge Charger was, vacuum-operated. In 70, they went to an electric one. I've got a vacuum simulator here. I'm gonna show you the functioning headlight doors.
Yep.
So we're just gonna open the headlight doors and close them a few times. And I want you to notice something. Okay, so I'm gonna flip my switch on here. Boy, you're just hogging the limelight. You can't stop. Give me that. God, you're crazy.
You gotta close it now, buddy.
I don't care. Can I do this? This is my tutorial.
It's your tutorial.
Thank you.
Take
The
the
headlights are open. Now we're gonna close them. I gotta do this manually back here. Now I'm gonna open them. And now I'm gonna close them. Open. Now what I'm doing by switching back and forth between those two hoses is the same exact thing the headlamp switch does in 68 and 69. 70, again, it was electric, different thing. When you open the headlights, it sends a source of vacuum to one of the pods. When you close them, it sends it to the other one. I'm just doing the same thing, but manually, so I can see if the vacuum pods themselves are working, if the lines are holding vacuum, and how everything works together. Do you notice how this headlight door moves slower than that headlight door? We're going to open, and I'm going to close. So which side right now is Mark, and which side is Will?
This is Mark.
Mark?
This is Will.
Little slow, little
slow.
lazy.
How the hell do I get brought into a tutorial about headlight doors?
It's just saying how fast he is and how slow he is.
Yeah, I get that, Pete. I just want to know why.
I guess you're slow.
Okay.
The reason that these are moving at different times is because they're two individual vacuum modules. If you look here, you see a vacuum module for this side. You'll see a vacuum module for that side. As you see me run these, I'm gonna open. See how that vacuum motor pulls it down? Now I'm gonna close them. The vacuum motor should pull it the other way. But here you can clearly see how it works, that these vacuum motors are individual of each other, and that's original. If you go to a car show and the headlights open and close on a 68 or a 69 Charger at different times, they're running original vacuum. This owner wanted that look.
Yeah.
He had one when he was a kid. He thought it was so funny that they opened at different times. I said, I can make them right and put on the electric conversion. And he said, no, thank you. So he wanted the Mark and Will version. That's how these things work, and that's how they're supposed to work on an original car. With everything functioning now the way that it should, we can go ahead and put it on.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So we have the two bottom brackets here to line up. That goes on the top of that. This is gonna go in here.
So the grille assembly, once it's built out, can be installed as one unit. There are a few intersecting areas that you have to line up, like the latch tray and the side mounts. Once everything is where it goes, you can just bolt it together. I do like to leave everything just a little bit loose so I can make the final adjustments once everything is on the car.
Got it?
I'm pretty close. There we go.
All right, let's grab our bolts. This is why God made lifts. I'm pretty sure. So us little fat guys don't have to do this. But that's all right, it's good exercise,
Who are
right?
you calling fat?
Well, I'm referring to myself more
Okay,
than
that's
anything
excellent.
else. I did lose a couple of pounds lately. I've been working out at the gym.
Well, that's
Probably
good.
noticed I'm getting huge.
We'll get everything lined up before we tighten them all down.
So the bottom one.
Yeah, those power tools sometimes will get you in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, they can, that's for sure. I've been going back through my old Rocky movies, Rambo, commemorate Rambo, and I just try to stay in shape, right? I just try to keep myself in shape. I'm not showing off. I'm just saying if I need to drop down and do 10 or 20, I can do it. And with any luck, it'll rub off on some of the blubbers that are running around here. I mean, you've seen some of them, right? They walk like great big Twinkies for toes, and their fat's just hiding over them. They're wearing aprons, and you know, to hide it, take care of yourself, man. Life is short. So now that we have the grille assembly in place, we're gonna put the front bumper on. You see most of it's built out. We don't have the guards in place yet because they have to go on last because they weave through the actual valance itself.
Yeah.
These are our two main mounting holes for the front bumper, 2 on each side. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come through here with a bolt on this one at the furthest back location, and that's gonna allow us to take the weight off of this. It'll ride and pivot on that bolt. We can rotate it up into place, slide it back where it belongs. It's a clean, easy thing. It allows you to do it by yourself, but I thought, why not have 2 people do it, right?
Why not?
Will says all I want's on TV.
Well,
So
let's get on TV then.
apparently I'll give you your bolt.
Thank you, sir.
Let's put that bad mamma jamma in there, okay?
All right, let's go.
So we're just gonna walk right in there. Got to come forward a little bit
Forward.
to get up over that.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Tell you what, I'm gonna put my other front bumper bolt in.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So we've got the outer bumper bracket reinforcements in place here, and all 4 of the bumper main mounting bolts in place. So now, I think we're okay to take the tape off
Yep.
and set the adjustment side to side, up and down, in and out.
Right.
3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna say that we go ahead and tighten this one where it's at now. I like it.
You like
and see
that?
if we can make the other side match.
Look
you
the
need
same.
to tighten this 7/16.
All right.
You know, installing the grill assembly, the front bumper, the valance, it's all been pre-fit before. There's still final adjustments that need to be done. Cars move, kind of like a house that settles a little bit. These things can move a little bit on you. I always just use the things that I have. Like you can take a finger and figure out what the gap is from side to side or feel the edges of it. Your body, your mind will tell you if that's even from side to side. There's minute little adjustments and a lot of them to get that valance to fit the fenders, to get it to fit up against the core support, to make sure that the opening's right for the grill assembly. The hood, all of those pieces have to be lined up, but when they are, you stand back and look at that, especially on a black car, a black Charger, you got gold, Jerry, gold. Ready to do a valance?
Let's do it. So the front valance sandwiches between 2 fenders and bolts to the core support. This panel is actually also known as the gravel guard. On most cars, the park lamp and turn signal assembly is actually in the valance. I love the looks of the Mopars when this part is installed. It really finishes off the look of the car. We got the valance in, we got everything adjusted and tightened up. All our gaps are looking really good. And Mark wanted me to go ahead and put the bumper guards on the car. These actually have a side to the car. You actually have one that goes on the passenger side and one on the driver's side, and they're just subtly different. That's why you see these little purple lines here. I'm gonna go ahead and take the passenger side and get it installed. We have what we call a little backing plate. It actually takes the form of the back side of the bumper. So when you bolt your bumper guard in, it's not gonna dent the bumper. It's actually gonna give it some nice support on the back side so that you get a nice solid attachment to your bumper. Put that right up in here. This will slide through the valance. And then we're gonna put our little bracket on the back side, little support brace or support bracket, followed by a nut. And we've essentially got that in place. It does have one more fastener, which will come up through the bottom, through the valance actually. So right up through here. And I like to hand tighten those as much as I can and then give it a little wrench to finish it. And we're good to go. So we'll get the other one in place. All right, so it looks really good from here. We'll go ahead and drop her down to the ground, do one last check from the ground and make sure it looks good. All right, bumper guards, there you go.
So once the car is actually all done and ready to be delivered, about 3 days before that, I'll cut Anthony loose on doing a buff on it. We do the initial cut and buff before it even goes over to assembly. But being put together, hands working on it, being wiped down for filming, they go through a lot. So it's just very critical because it shows everything to spend 2 or 3 days buffing and polishing this car. So when the customer gets it, it looks brand new.
You know, a lot of times when you finish a car, the color doesn't always complement the body lines, the style lines. And these second generation Chargers, they're just filled with them, from the reverse scallops in the hood to the scallops on the doors, all of them built into the panels themselves. The bow-shaped quarters and fenders, the hideaway headlights, the sleek long tail lights, 68 course round. So when you stand back and you look at this car going down the road, or you see it sitting in the shop with all the lights on it, we're getting good shots of it, just appreciate all of those lines that might get drowned out if it was a yellow or a bright red or even a blue in some cases. You get away with nothing on these black cars, nothing. If you have an imperfection, it's going to show. So to make them look slick like that, like they're going 1,000 miles an hour sitting still, you have to have the right paint, the right painter, which I'll give him credit for it. So there's all kinds of blacks, right? Like all kinds of white colors. You put a dab of yellow in, dab of brown, dab of red, it changes the shade of it. You want the blackest black if you're doing this, even blacker than the factory was. You want it black. So the 9300 PPG single stage polyurethane is what we use. It's the same black that a lot of street rodders and even European car guys that want the purest, richest black will use it. There's not a drop of gray, there's not a drop of yellow in it, not a drop of white. It absolutely is the blackest black, and it's also the slickest finish when you're done. That's why it looks like it just got dipped in a vat of black paint.
Coming up, with every detail done, this 1969 Hemi Charger Tribute with its earth-shaking cam.
I want that bump. I want that loud, obnoxious, slobbering camshaft.
And buffed black paint is finally road ready. But when Mark and his cousin take this monster to the mean streets, the cam isn't the only thing that's gonna go bump.
They're gonna hit that camera, they're gonna hit that camera. What's the...
Will the team survive the tragic end of the Charger's maiden voyage?
Boom hit the tree went boom, camera went boom, Mark's wallet went boom, roof of the car went boom, and that was the end of the driving footage, so.
Or will a costly mistake be the last time this Charger is seen on the road? Find out when Graveyard Carz returns.
If you're doing a correct tribute car, it's the attention to detail. If it was an option that the owner wanted, put it on the car. This car got a 6-way seat, so it got 6-way seat instructions. This car has a pedal dress-up kit, rally steering wheel, which is the wood grain best looking wheel, especially when you're talking about a Charger that has a super luxurious interior anyway, from the rally instrument cluster all the way to the back. That is a very rich car. You can tell when you look at it that everything is right and accurate to a 69 Charger, and all of those add up to why really everybody does love these cars. When they talk about what's your favorite car, I will tell you that over half of the people that are Mopar, at least families, maybe not diehard enthusiasts because they're all over the map, but just the average person that you said, what do you love? They love the Chargers. This is a great example why. One of the last things that we do before we send the car out is a lights and system check. So we check the turn signal indicators to make sure the left and the right are working, the brake lights, headlights, high and low beam, dash lighting, dome light circuit, console lighting, emergency flashers, backup lights, functioning gauges, and the tachometer. Make sure the clock and the tach both work.
Well, it's a beautiful day and it's a beautiful car.
It's not a beautiful day. We got about 5 minutes of no rain, so we decided to take it out.
Any day without rain in Oregon is a beautiful day.
They say, can you just take a break for your mother's sake? I just wanna see her moving right next to a lake. I might bend and yeah, I might shake, but against the strongest man, just believe I won't break, never break. No matter what they say, prepare for what comes my way. I got more than what it takes. I might bend, but I cannot break. I won't break. My heart's strong. I won't break. I won't break. My heart's strong. I won't break.
Well, other than a little bit of a ship problem so far, feels good, doesn't it?
Feels nice.
Yeah, got our new camera rig over there. Say hi to all the camera guys.
Hi, camera guys. Hi, camera guys.
Am I at? Hi, Satan. They're gonna hit that camera. They're gonna hit that camera. What's the? Now here's a classic example of my luck when it comes to this driving footage. Remember the CUDA that I want to have a really cool scene with, and the GoPro ended up falling off on the ground and getting ran over, and then these two people ran over it and they picked it up and gave it back to me. I was trying to do a death-proof moment. I was trying to have some fun, right? Trying to give you at home something more entertaining than just seeing a car going around in circles. I wanted to do the same thing with the Hemi Charger. Beautiful day, I got Dougie, we went out. We're following our new camera car. Oh, our new camera car. It's a Dodge Magnum, 2006 Magnum, got 30,000 original miles on it. Bought this trick European camera system that sets on top of it. I mean, this thing is trick, fully remote control. It takes 3 people to run it, plus 1 person to drive the car. It allows this boom to go out the back, over to the side, up in the air, down, and around to the front, and then all the way around. So you get some amazing, if you look at some of our footage that we've done, it's some amazing footage. In this particular case, the driver, who will remain anonymous, made a tiny mistake and didn't talk to the camera guy, we'll call him Aaron, who had the boom out to the side and said, hey, I know we're in the middle lane right now and I'm gonna move back into the regular lane, the right-hand lane. You should bring that mast around. That communication didn't, again, a tiny, tiny mistake could have happened to anybody. Boom hit the tree went boom, camera went boom, Mark's wallet went boom, roof of the car went boom, and that was the end of the driving footage, so. What was it Doris Day used to say? Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Tiny dancing. I suppose at the end of the day, you know, they're asking me to put a button on this, and I would just have to say my version of a button on this episode would probably be maybe a callback. I've done the Heroes and Villains, Sinners and Saints, right? I'm gonna go back to one that was really popular, Flizzum Flazzum Flazzoo. You know, I haven't used that one in a long time. I got some people that say, hey, what's up, Ice Tray, Flizzum Flazzum Flazzoo, hashtag Flizzum Flazzum, you know. So I'm gonna say Flizzum Flazzum Flazzoo, Tiny ruined the day. Everybody wanted to be Mark Warman, nobody wanted to be Mark Warman. What about that question?